Hi, this is Sue Jackson of the Book by Book blog, and I'm here with another Friday Reads. I forgot to get my book mug out this morning. It's a busy day. Gonna do this video, and then I've got a doctor's appointment on Zoom, so trying to fit everything in. Wasn't thinking. Okay, so a quick update on what I have been reading. A few days ago, I finished Ask Again Yes by Mary Beth Keane. I did talk about this last week, so just a quick update. I loved it. I really, really loved it. It is a family drama running from the 1970s to the present day. It begins with two men who are rookies on the NYPD and are then briefly partnered together. One of them, Francis, has just come from Ireland. The other one, Brian, is Irish American. The two men become friends. They both buy houses next door to each other in a small rural town outside of New York. And then they have children, and their kids become close friends. And then a tragedy happens, and it affects both families for the rest of their lives. So the beginning of the book focuses more on that first generation, the two police officers and their wives. And then the next couple of sections focus more on their kids and what happens after this tragedy and how things, just life. It's about life. It's about loss and grief and crisis and tragedy, but also love and hope. And it's just beautiful. I really, really enjoyed it. This was a buddy read with Nikki of Red Dot Reads, and as always, I so enjoy buddy reading with her. She and I get along really well, and we're on opposite sides of the world, so we have to do it all through voicemail, but I just find discussing the book with Nikki just really enriched the experience, as it did last year when we buddy read The Lincoln Highway. So loved this. I'm going to get to meet the author at Booktopia this year. Book event the last weekend in April in Vermont. And I'm also going to be reading her latest novel, so looking forward to that. Now, you may recall that back in February, I was listening to a book on audio, The Invisible Girls, and I was really enjoying it. And then my audio kind of stopped in the middle of the book. It had been a free download, and I probably did something wrong, but it had been years earlier that I downloaded it, and apparently I didn't get the whole book. And my library didn't have it, and I couldn't find another copy. And then I had other reading to do in February. So finally, I did just buy the Kindle version so that I could finish it. It did turn out I had over 100 pages left, so I'm glad I did that. So I'm finally back to reading The Invisible Girls by Sarah Labarge. And I'm so glad that I'm finishing it. I'm almost done, probably going to finish it at nap time today. It's a memoir, and it is just so moving. It's about Sarah's relationship with a Somalian refugee, a woman who has 5 little girls, all under the age of like 11, that she's trying to take care of. Her English, she hardly speaks any English. Her older girls who are in school are learning some English, but all of them, they're new to the country. It's not just the language. The culture is totally new to them. They don't understand anything about this new place they're living. They're completely lost. And but this is not like a white savior sort of story. I worried about that at first. I wondered what it was going to be like going in. It's not like that at all. Because when they first meet, Sarah, the author, is also lost. She has been through hell and back. She was a graduate student earning double degrees in physician's assistant and journalism. Sarah was brought up in a very, very strict religious atmosphere, evangelical Christian. And so she's got these dreams for her life, and she's on her way to meeting them. She's engaged, she's got one degree and about to get the other, and she gets cancer. And the cancer is devastating. She goes through double mastectomy in her 20s, and chemo and radiation and everything that brings with it. She's a mess emotionally. She loses her fiance. So when her cancer treatment is, almost finished, she's still getting treatment for the next few years, but she's past the worst of it. She's been living in New York and Connecticut. She picks up, moves to Portland, Oregon, and that's where she meets Hadi, this Somalian refugee, and her 5 adorable little girls. And so the two women bond, and Sarah's trying to help the family a little bit financially, but Sarah doesn't have that much money herself. It's more about, she becomes a friend of Hadi's. She just adores the little girls. They just form this strong bond. And she's trying to help them, especially the little girls, learn how to navigate American culture. She's trying to help Hadi learn she was with a very abusive husband, and now she's on her own. So she's trying to teach her how to live independently and, deal with finances and everything else that comes with that. The bond between Sarah and this family is just amazing. I have loved this book. I'm at like the 94% mark, so I'm almost finished. Highly recommend this. I'm so glad that when my audio finished halfway through, that I did go ahead and buy the Kindle, because I wouldn't have wanted to miss this. The Invisible Girls by Sarah LaBarge. On audio, I have been listening to Butterfly Yellow by Peng Ha Lai. I've been practicing. And it's interesting because pronunciation is a big part of this novel. I chose this for middle grade March. It turns out it's actually a YA novel. I did not realize that. Halfway through, it suddenly occurred to me that 2 of the main narrators are actually 18 years old. And I looked it up, and yeah, it's YA. I don't know why in my own files I labeled it as middle grade, but it doesn't matter because it is a fabulous book. And it's perfect for fierce reads, as is the last book I just talked about female authors and fierce female characters. This definitely fits. So 18-year-old Hung, trying to get the pronunciation right, is a refugee from Vietnam. It's 1983. She has traveled a harrowing journey by boat and in a refugee camp on an island, and finally arrives in the United States and in Texas. She is looking for her long-lost brother. So her brother, Ling, was torn away from her at the end of the Vietnam War. At the time, he was only 5 and she was 12. Her family had heard that the Americans were saving some Vietnamese orphans, putting them on planes and taking them to the United States. She had lost her father and I think her mother too. Their grandmother, Ba, was taking care of them. But Heng took her brother, her baby brother Ling, her 5-year-old brother, to the airport in the hopes that they could both get on a plane to America. And I think, if I'm remembering correctly, her grandmother supported this. She wanted what was best for the kids. Vietnam had been at war for a long time. It was clear now the communists were taking over. So, they were trying to get out. Well, it turned out the Americans really only wanted babies 3 years old and younger. Because the Vietnamese children are much smaller than American children, they think that Ling is 3, and they take him, but Hung gets left behind. So we learn all of this in flashbacks as Hung is now in Texas. She has been studying English for a long time. Her father started teaching her back when he was still alive. She's been studying a National Geographic article about a ranch in Texas and horses. And this is how she's been practicing English. She knows that her brother, all she knows about where her brother went is somebody handed her a scrap of paper at the airport with an address in Amarillo, Texas. So she and her grandmother, for years now, for 6 years, have been studying the address and memorizing it, all in preparation for this day when she can finally get there and save her brother. The problem, of course, is that her brother was adopted at 5 by an American family, doesn't really remember anything about his Vietnamese childhood. So that's sort of the setup. Right from the beginning, Hung runs into trouble. The bus she is riding leaves without her, and she gets a ride with another 18-year-old, a young wannabe cowboy named Leroy. And she gets a ride with Leroy, and that sort of starts this partnership between them. Leroy ends up helping her find her brother. It's a wonderful novel. I am really enjoying it. I'm so glad I'm listening to the audiobook because it is bringing her struggles to life. You get her broken English spoken in with the Vietnamese pronunciations and cadence. It's just spectacular on audio, and it's helping me better understand what it was like for her trying to communicate. So she's been studying English, and she's actually a whiz with English grammar, but she pronounces everything wrong because she's using Vietnamese pronunciations. And no one in America pronounces her name right, which is spelled H-A-N-G, but there's an accent on the A. And so everyone keeps trying to say Hang, and she's like, that's not my name. And so on the audio, I'm getting the subtlety in the Vietnamese pronunciations and the difference that little accent mark can make to change one word into another. It's a wonderful novel. I'm really enjoying it and can't wait to see what happens next. So that's what I'm reading right now. I would love to hear what you're reading this weekend. Please let me know in the comments down below.